Breaking news out of Washington: Congress has just passed a new law, and it could have a direct impact on millions of Americans who rely on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and potential stimulus support in 2026. This development is already sparking serious attention because the changes being discussed could influence monthly benefit payments, eligibility rules, and the financial relief many households depend on. For seniors living on fixed incomes, individuals receiving disability benefits, and families still coping with rising living costs, updates like this can be incredibly important. Even small adjustments in legislation can affect when payments arrive, how benefits are calculated, and whether additional support programs move forward. Right now, people across the country are asking the same urgent questions. Does this new law mean higher Social Security checks? Could there be new stimulus payments? Are there changes coming that recipients need to prepare for in 2026? The answers are beginning to surface, but many of the details are still being misunderstood or overlooked. In today's video, we're going to carefully break down what Congress just approved, what it could mean for Social Security, SSI, and SSDI recipients, and the key updates that could affect millions of beneficiaries in the months ahead. If you or someone in your family depends on these benefits, this is information you definitely want to understand. So before we get into the full explanation and reveal the most important details, take a moment to like this video. Your support helps more people see these crucial updates and stay informed about changes that could impact their financial future. Let's get started. Across the United States, millions of people woke up today unaware that a major decision had just been made in Washington that could influence the financial lifeline they depend on every single month. The passage of this new law has immediately sparked conversations among retirees, disability recipients, policy experts, and families who help loved ones manage their benefits. Whenever Congress moves forward with legislation connected to Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, it naturally captures national attention because these programs are woven deeply into the daily lives of tens of millions of Americans. For many households, these payments are not simply supplemental income. They are the foundation that keeps essential expenses covered and ensures stability in a world where the cost of living continues to climb. To understand why this development matters so much, it helps to look at the scale of these programs. Social Security alone supports more than 60 million Americans, including retirees who spent decades in the workforce, widows and widowers relying on survivor benefits, and individuals with disabilities who depend on monthly assistance to maintain a basic standard of living. SSI adds another layer of support for people with limited income and resources, while SSDI focuses on those who have worked but can no longer continue due to serious health conditions. Together, these systems form one of the most significant pillars of financial protection in the country. Over the last several years, the economic environment has made these benefits even more important. Inflation has pushed up the price of everyday necessities, from groceries and utilities to rent and prescription medications. Many seniors have spoken about how carefully they must plan their monthly budgets, sometimes counting every dollar to make sure the essentials are covered. Disability recipients often face additional challenges because medical costs can rise quickly, and navigating healthcare systems while living on a fixed income can become overwhelming. In that context, any new law connected to federal benefits immediately raises the question of whether it will strengthen support systems or introduce new adjustments people need to prepare for. Inside Washington, lawmakers have been debating the future of Social Security for years. One major reason is the changing demographics of the country. Large generations are reaching retirement age, meaning more people are beginning to claim benefits while the workforce supporting the system evolves at the same time. Policymakers often discuss ways to maintain the long-term stability of the program while still ensuring that current recipients receive the support they rely on. That balancing act is not simple, which is why legislation connected to these programs tends to generate intense discussion and sometimes controversy. Another topic frequently raised during these debates involves how benefits are calculated. Social Security payments are based on a formula that examines an individual's earnings history and the age at which they begin claiming benefits. Over time, policymakers review whether that formula continues to reflect economic realities. Some proposals have suggested modifying calculations to better account for modern wage patterns or changing retirement trends. Even a small change to a formula can translate into noticeable differences in monthly payments for millions of recipients, which explains why people pay close attention whenever Congress passes legislation tied to these systems. Payment timing is another area that often becomes part of the conversation. Most recipients receive deposits according to a structured schedule, with SSI payments typically arriving at the beginning of the month and Social Security benefits distributed based on the beneficiary's birth date. These schedules have remained relatively stable for years, but legislative reviews sometimes include discussions about administrative improvements that could make payment processing more efficient or secure. Whenever such topics arise, recipients naturally want reassurance that their payments will continue arriving consistently and without disruption. Disability benefits bring another layer of complexity to these discussions. SSDI recipients often face long and difficult journeys before qualifying for assistance, including medical evaluations, documentation requirements, and review processes designed to confirm eligibility. Once benefits are approved, those payments become a crucial support system that helps individuals manage life with serious health conditions. Lawmakers sometimes examine ways to streamline parts of the disability system, reduce waiting times for decisions, or improve support services for recipients navigating the process. Beyond the technical details of policy, there is also a deeply human side to these programs. For many retirees, the first Social Security payment represents the beginning of a new chapter in life. After decades of work, those monthly deposits become a reliable source of stability that helps cover daily expenses. People use them to pay mortgages, purchase groceries, fill prescriptions, and maintain independence in retirement. The same is true for individuals receiving disability benefits, who often rely on that income to manage living costs while focusing on their health. Because these programs touch so many lives, public interest in any new legislation connected to them spreads quickly. News travels through television broadcasts, online platforms, community discussions, and family conversations as people attempt to understand what new policies might mean for them. Some updates turn out to be administrative changes that improve how the system operates behind the scenes, while others introduce adjustments that gradually affect benefit structures or funding mechanisms over time. Another reason this particular law has captured attention is the broader economic environment in which it arrives. Many Americans are still adjusting to higher prices across multiple sectors of the economy. The memory of stimulus payments distributed during previous national emergencies remains fresh, and the idea of additional financial support occasionally resurfaces during policy debates. While stimulus programs were designed for extraordinary circumstances, discussions about economic resilience often bring up questions about how governments might assist citizens during challenging financial periods. For seniors living on fixed incomes, even modest financial relief can make a meaningful difference. Rising utility bills, increasing healthcare costs, and fluctuations in housing markets can strain household budgets that were carefully planned years earlier. Disability recipients frequently face similar pressures, particularly when medical treatments or specialized care create additional financial burdens. These realities shape how people interpret news about legislation connected to federal benefit programs. As analysts and policy experts begin reviewing the details of the newly passed law, attention will likely shift toward how government agencies interpret and implement its provisions. The Social Security Administration plays a key role in translating legislation into operational guidelines that determine how programs function on a day-to-day basis. When new rules or adjustments appear, the agency typically releases official communications explaining what recipients should expect and how any changes will be applied. In many cases, updates to major federal programs unfold gradually rather than overnight. Legislation may establish frameworks that take months or even years to fully implement. During that period, officials work through regulatory processes, develop administrative procedures, and communicate guidance to beneficiaries. For recipients, that phase can involve a period of careful observation as they wait for clear explanations about what the changes mean in practical terms. Meanwhile, public conversation around Social Security, SSI, and SSDI continues to evolve. Economists, lawmakers, and advocacy groups frequently share different perspectives on how these programs should adapt to future challenges. Some emphasize expanding benefits to better match modern living costs, while others focus on long-term financial sustainability. These debates reflect the complexity of maintaining programs that serve tens of millions of people while navigating shifting economic conditions. Across the country, individuals who rely on these benefits often approach such news with a mixture of curiosity and concern. They want to understand whether new policies will strengthen the system that supports them or introduce adjustments they will need to plan for in the years ahead. Community organizations, retirement advisors, and advocacy groups often help translate complex legislative language into practical information that recipients can use to make informed decisions. As the conversation continues, the focus remains on understanding exactly how this newly passed law fits into the broader landscape of federal benefits. Analysts are examining its provisions, policymakers are explaining its intentions, and recipients across the nation are watching closely for updates that could influence their financial planning. With so many Americans connected to Social Security, SSI, and SSDI, even a single piece of legislation can become a moment of national attention, shaping discussions about retirement security, disability support, and the future of one of the country's most significant safety net systems. As the details of this newly passed law begin circulating through Washington and beyond, a growing number of analysts, journalists, and advocacy groups are closely examining what it could mean in practical terms for the millions of Americans connected to these benefit programs. When legislation of this scale is approved, the immediate headlines often focus on the big announcement, but the real understanding comes later, when experts start unpacking the fine print and explaining how each section might influence existing policies. That process can take time, and during that period, many recipients naturally begin asking questions about how the changes might affect their financial plans. For retirees who depend on Social Security as their primary source of income, stability is often the most important factor. Many people build their retirement budgets around a predictable monthly payment, carefully balancing housing costs, utilities, healthcare expenses, and everyday necessities. When news breaks about a new law related to these programs, the first concern is usually whether those payments will remain reliable and whether any adjustments might change the amount they receive in the future. Even rumors about possible changes can create uncertainty, which is why clear communication from policymakers and government agencies becomes essential. Another area drawing attention is how the law could interact with cost of living adjustments, commonly known as COLA. These annual increases are designed to help Social Security benefits keep pace with inflation. In years when prices rise quickly, COLA adjustments can provide noticeable increases to monthly payments, helping retirees manage higher living costs. Because inflation has been a major concern in recent years, many people are wondering whether new legislation might influence how these adjustments are calculated or applied going forward. Discussions around SSI are also part of the broader conversation. Supplemental security income plays a crucial role for individuals with limited income and resources, including many seniors and people with disabilities who may not have extensive work histories. SSI payments help cover fundamental needs such as food, housing, and basic living expenses. Any legislative update that touches this program tends to receive close scrutiny because recipients often operate on extremely tight budgets, where even small financial changes can have a meaningful impact on daily life. At the same time, SSDI recipients are paying attention to how the law might affect disability benefits and administrative processes. For people living with long-term health conditions, navigating the disability system can already be complex. The application process, medical documentation requirements, and eligibility reviews often involve detailed evaluations. When Congress considers changes related to disability programs, policymakers sometimes aim to streamline procedures or address delays that applicants experience. If administrative improvements are included in the legislation, they could potentially influence how quickly future applicants move through the system. The broader policy conversation surrounding Social Security often touches on the program's long-term financial outlook. Economists frequently analyze how demographic trends, employment patterns, and economic growth affect the system's sustainability over time. As the population ages and more people reach retirement age, the number of beneficiaries grows. Meanwhile, payroll taxes collected from workers help fund current benefits. Balancing those two factors is an ongoing challenge for lawmakers who want to ensure that the program continues supporting future generations. Because of that, legislation sometimes includes measures aimed at strengthening financial stability within the system. These measures can involve technical adjustments, oversight mechanisms, or structural changes designed to ensure the program remains reliable decades into the future. While these topics may sound highly technical, they ultimately connect back to a simple concern shared by millions of Americans: the desire to know that the benefits they rely on today will still be there tomorrow. Public interest in these discussions tends to rise whenever economic uncertainty becomes part of everyday life. Over the past few years, households across the country have experienced shifts in prices, wages, and employment conditions. Many people have had to rethink their budgets, delay certain plans, or search for additional ways to manage expenses. For retirees and individuals living with disabilities, the flexibility to adjust income is often limited, which makes stable benefit programs especially important. Families also play a significant role in these conversations. Adult children frequently assist parents with financial planning, helping them monitor benefit payments, understand government announcements, and manage paperwork related to retirement or disability programs. When new legislation appears, those families often become active participants in trying to interpret the information and determine whether any steps need to be taken. Community organizations, senior advocacy groups, and financial counselors often step in during these moments to help translate complex policy updates into everyday language. They review legislative texts, attend policy briefings, and communicate key information to the communities they serve. Their goal is to ensure that people who rely on Social Security, SSI, and SSDI have accurate information rather than speculation or rumors that might circulate online. The role of government agencies becomes particularly important once a law moves from the legislative stage into the implementation phase. Agencies responsible for administering benefit programs